I came down, and Nikki went upstairs to get ready. And then, the routine is basically if Nikki's taking the girls and Willow, when I hear her come down, I'll get them in the car, get them strapped in, get Willow in the boot and all that. And Nikki comes out, give her the keys, and off they go.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. We are on day 19. Charlotte Drake, a marketing director and mother of two with a third child on the way, she's broken her silence recently on how she knows her neighbors Nicola and Paul. According to the Metro news site, quote, with Paul's permission, Charlotte has pointed out, despite speculations about the car Nicola was driving, a Mercedes SUV, that, despite this rumors, I guess, that her car keys were left in the ignition, her keys were on Nicola, right? Paul apparently wants that clarified, that Nicola must have taken the keys with her. According to the article and according to Paul, it's a Mercedes key with a couple of Mercedes key rings on it, one black, one blue, a round wooden key ring with paw prints on it, and then a couple of normal keys. Now, one would imagine keys, they're metallic, they might stand out in a careful sonar search, or they could be located perhaps on the ground somewhere by metal detectors if they fell in the area. And we have actually seen images of people searching that steep riverbank with metal detectors. Can you search with metal detectors in water? Well, I'd love to know. According to the article, the keys were definitely on Nikki at the time. A huge bunch of keys, a Mercedes keyring with paw prints, which she would have put in her coat pocket. That is according to what Paul told Charlotte, the neighbor. In the last few days, we've seen quite a lot of activity in terms of putting ribbons up on the bridge and a little bit of a coalition forming between friends and neighbors and family. They've also changed their Facebook profiles. But before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're enjoying this episode, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. So, in the last day or so, it's possible Charlotte has put her marketing knowledge to use. We've seen some coordination. We've seen a hashtag emerging. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But we've seen yellow ribbons placed on the Lancashire Bridge near the incident. Also, Paul's Facebook profile, which has been inert, which has been sort of just nothing's happened there, has suddenly changed from this to this. Other friends of Nicola have also said they want to paint Facebook yellow, with yellow, I guess, as a sign of, as a symbol of hope, as a color, a hopeful color, like the sunshine, the sun shining through. They also seem to be trying to get the hashtag Bring Nikki Home out there into social media. According to the Metro quote, last night Mr. Ansell joined dozens of Nicola's friends and family in changing their profile pictures on Facebook to a snap with a yellow border. Now, in response to my live yesterday where I did statement analysis on Paul's interview on Channel 5 on day 18, some mention was made that Paul's effect is normal for northern men in the UK. Someone said that, in the northeast UK, as well as in the northwest, us northerners are a hardy, no-nonsense lot, and so I wouldn't read too much into not mentioning hugs and kisses before she went out. Someone else noticed that he may simply be in shock and trying to hold it together, which is why he seems less emotional than one might expect. And that is also what the neighbor said. Charlotte echoed this view, saying that Paul doesn't want to break down on camera in view of millions of people, and he also doesn't want his kids to see that. She said that he has to remain strong, and he has to hold on to hope that we will find Nikki. And then she goes on to say, she really compliments him, describes the strength of this man that he's shown over the past 14 days is miraculous. She goes on to say, when many would have sat at home waiting for news, he's been using the media exactly as it should be used to share the facts, highlight the lack of evidence, spread the word far and wide so that he can hopefully reach someone that knows something. While I agree that that's certainly good, I suppose you could also physically help with the search. You can physically go and search. Another comment that was left just a few hours ago under the statement analysis discussion sheds a little bit more light on Paul's working situation vis-a-vis the USA. Catherine, thanks a lot. I did pin your comment. Catherine says that he works for Rivian in Detroit. Detroit is 5 hours behind Greenwich Mean Time, the time zone that the UK falls in. He's a design engineer. Previously worked for British Aerospace Systems and TVR. And so I was able to confirm all of this by heading to his LinkedIn profile. I actually did go to LinkedIn previously, but there are a heck of a lot of Paul Ansels. And it turns out he's a highly experienced electrical design engineer with a history working within aerospace and the automotive industries. And then all of that is linked there. AutoCAD, Cadonix, a strong engineering professional. And then it also lists his, the time that he spent with Rivian, over 4.5 years, or about 4.5 years, since October 2018. So through the pandemic, I guess. Prior to that, he was an electrical design engineer for a company based in Ireland, in Belfast. And then before that, he was also working for a company that was based in Lancashire, Penman, and then Bentley Motors in Crewe prior to that for almost 2 years. So Paul actually seems to be a highly intelligent, well-educated person. He's got a good job, and he seems to have been employed all of this time. His career actually seems to be doing pretty well. Between the two of them, they seem to be pretty well off. You don't often find people living in detached homes in the UK. When you do, you tend to be dealing with pretty wealthy people. Between the two of them, they seem, as I say, quite wealthy, given where they live, also the type of vehicle Nicola is driving, a Mercedes SUV. And the article goes on to describe where they live as a quiet street, so quite a nice area they're living in, with 5 detached houses alongside each other, a grass lawn at the end where they celebrate each other's birthdays. I guess that means the people in that cul-de-sac, they mark special events and they gather at weekends. So there's also kind of a sense of community in that neighborhood. So it appears this fairy tale that we've seen on Facebook may be quite real, quite authentic after all, right? And Paul may just be one of those guys who just isn't really on Facebook very much because he's busy, because he's got a life. And I had a friend who was like that as well, just not on social media because he's a businessman and got a lot going on. So perhaps true crime has made some of us quite cynical. Some people out there are actually living pretty good lives. According to the Metro quote, the last time Charlotte saw Nicola was on the day that she went missing. She said that Nicola was heading off to drop her kids at school, and I saw the car going, she said, and she said nothing looked strange at all. That was something that I thought was, if you're thinking about decoys, could someone have been dressed to look like Nicola or something like that? And the whole timeline is out or something like that. Well, Charlotte seeing Nicola tends to make that already far-fetched theory even more unlikely. Anyway, she goes on to say, nothing looks strange at all. She said, our kids are at different schools and hers start a little bit earlier than mine. So whenever I see Nikki go out the drive, I tell my kids to hurry up. The fact that both Paul and Nicola are staying fit, her taking walks, him heading to the gym, they seem to be sharing the chores at home. Within a work situation, staying fit suggests they may be living quite a balanced life, which isn't always easy to achieve or maintain. You kind of get the idea they perhaps have high standards, that they're quite self-disciplined. You kind of get that sense. Charlotte also has said that Nicola is without doubt the most beautiful person inside and out who would do anything for anyone. We joke she's the sort of mum we all want to be, loving, friendly, just a wonderful human being. Like Paul, we have to remain strong and have hope that we will get Nicola home. Now, whenever you read something like that, it's all fair and well to say she's a wonderful person, but you've got to ask to what person could have a different view of that one person's fairy tale is another one's nightmare. And so her being beautiful may be a problem in terms of a third party. Someone may have noticed her, become jealous, become obsessive, become interested, whatever it is. So, that's the other side of that story. It's not that she's just someone who's pretty and walking around. We're trying to understand why she's been missing for 19 days. If she's not in the river, then could her unusual beauty, her unusual attractiveness, could that be part of the story in some way, in some twisted way? Charlotte also described the relationship Nicola had with Willow as a special one. She said, Willow is the most beautiful dog who never ever would leave Nicky's side. She said, I watched Nicky train Willow once and she's the best behaved dog. I've also heard that one reason they stopped taking the ball on walks was because Willow got quite attached to it. Protective is, I think, the word that they used. Now, as the search for Nicola enters the third week, Charlotte is trying her best, like the rest of the communities, to support Paul, according to the Metro. She's dropping, trying to help Paul and the girls by dropping off food and being there for anything to help. So the neighbors sort of trying to show solidarity and support. She says, as neighbors and friends, we've all said from 11 a.m. on day one, when the police showed up, she's not in that river. She also says, my gut feeling, same thing that he said, my gut feeling remains the same. I honestly believe Nicky is not in the water. So what is that? Is that denial? Is that common sense? Is that logical? What is that? Is it sentimental? Part of that strong feeling does seem to come from a rational place. The fact that Nicola couldn't just swim, but in the words of one friend, Tilly Ann, she was an incredibly strong swimmer. So thus far, the Times has provided the best map thus far of Nicola's route, including, for the first time I've seen, the loop around the upper field. That is provided there in yellow, the route that she often did take. Unfortunately, after getting that part right, they get the location of the harness and leash lying on the ground wrong. It lay in front of the bench halfway down the embankment towards the river, according to Paul. The graphic also doesn't record that the alarm was raised at 10:15 a.m. I think that was when the school was called. And the authorities were called 35 minutes later at 10:50 a.m. One problem with Paul's version of events dealing with the last time he said he saw Nicola was that he claimed he loaded the kids and the dog into the car. But the Ring doorbell footage from the residence seems to suggest otherwise, that she certainly loaded the dog into the car. In spite of those ribbons of hope, Nicola Bulley has been missing for 19 days now. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.